Do you have a dream to build your own tiny home? But the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. Then come along with us as we navigate you through all the options and restrictions, helping you make this dream come true. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back. And this is your first time to our channel. It's great having you join us. So I'm excited to say we're finally up to stage 5 of this tiny home construction, which is not so tiny. And so now we're going to put on the Colorbond on the walls and also on the roof, which I got from Steel Roofing Supply Centre. And I'll speak more about them as we progress. And so if you haven't seen the stages of stage 1, 2, 3 and 4, I will put a link for them in the descriptions below. And so stage 1 is where we made the base using all kind and priority steel with the help of Marion and Mr. Suka, who were fantastic. And stage 2 is where we fabricated the walls and had a heap of guys help stand them, and then we finished off the roof and all the other bracing. And stage 3 is where we made the retractable decking and putting the decking on, which turned out fantastic. And stage 4 is where we finished off the steel structure using MGP 10 timbers, which was supplied to us by Tony from DNA Plastering. Plus we had Charlie from Top Notch Plumbing come and do the sewer work for us. Then finally we put the windows and doors in, which was supplied to us by Bradnam Windows. So in preparation for today, we went through and we prepared and painted the bracket that's going to take the hand winch, and we also painted the angles and the hinges. So now we're ready and we're going to get into it. Okay, I've got Marion back with me.
Hi everyone.
And so I've asked Marion to give me a hand to put these trims on, these flashings. So if you don't know much about Colorbond, it's very easy to cut your fingers, and my hands are proof to that. So you can wear gloves, but it's really hard to work with Colorbond with gloves, so you just got to be careful. So now I can start the corrugator just here, but what's going to happen over time, someone's going to cut their fingers, I know they will. So I've got this flashing made up, and the Colorbond is just going to sit on this angle section, which is going to be a lot safer. So I started working in the Colorbond industry back in 1989 with Stramit Industries, who were known as Amatec at the time. And eventually I moved on to Steel Roofing Supply Centre, managing their Meadowbank branch. And a big shout out to Anthony, Gav and to Jade for helping us organise this. And again, I'm going to talk about them more later. Okay, so now we'll get into it and put this trim on. Okay, so we've got the flashing in place. So I've overhang it around about 100 mil. So what I've got here, the base is just above the SHS, the 100 mil bearer. And so now I'm going to put a quick grip in here to hold that while I fix the other end. So now the Colorbond does have a film of plastic. I'll just take it off a little bit just here where I'm going to put the screw. Now first I'm just going to pre-drill, make sure that height is okay. Yep. Okay, so this SHS 100 mil bearer is 3 mil thick, so it takes a bit of effort to cut through that. Okay, so now I'll just put a 16 mil wafer head screw in that. So basically it's a self driller. So even though I've pre-drilled, this will cut the rest in and create the thread. Okay, so now we'll just go through and just screw the whole lot off. So I'm putting these screws every 600 mil. Okay, that's the last one. We can take the quick grips off. So now we've got the smaller trim to sit on the south wall, and we butt it up against the other flashing. And so now what we're going to do is miter both this and this one to fit into each other to be a nice cut at a 45 degree. But first I'm just marking it out where I'm going to cut this trim. Okay, so I've got 2 types of whisk nips. I've got the green and the red. So one's a left hand, one's a right hand. So depending on which way you're going to cut, which one you're going to use. There's also a straight, which I don't have, which is usually a yellow. All right, so now I'm going to miter this in. Then just as an interim cut, I'll cut this one. Okay, so now I'll just cut this side. Okay, so now before I cut the miter, I'm actually going to cut out another around about 20 mil. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to just cut right around. Okay, so I'll just put that on the side there. I'll just cut this bottom section off, so I won't need that. I'm going to go into the miter and cut to the very corner, just like that. Again, back to the red, and I'll do a 45 on the bottom, like that. I'll grab these pliers and I'm going to gently bend this back, right on the mark that I need, like that. Just bend it in. So now I've got somewhere to actually put a proper bit in for the next one that runs through. Okay, that fits fantastic, I love it. All right, so now this section has to also be cut on a miter, and so does here. So I'm just gonna mark that out. Beautiful. There we go, I'll just break this one off. Okay, we just cut this one off, 45-degree angle, and it's finished. All right, now we'll put that in place. Okay, once again, I'll just pre-drill. And now I'm gonna put a pop rivet in. Okay, this side's done, pretty easy. So now just got one more side to go and we're finished, but the rain is starting again, would you believe it? So we braved the rain and we're doing really well here. We've gone through and placed this angle in and we've mitered that corner. We've also mitered the other side, so that's only a very small piece. And we did have to use a packer to increase the width of the angle that we're just about to go into. So there's a different type of flashing I made there. It doesn't have the bottom return. We're all done. Woohoo! We're back and I've got Eugene and Mufid with me.
Hi guys.
And so you might remember Eugene, we made a bathroom renovation video together on his ensuite. That took a lot of work. Eugene, how's that bathroom going?
Perfect.
And so you might remember this guy, he's been on a video with me only once before. So his dad is Mr. Suka. We did his driveway, we sealed it, and Mufid gave us a hand just in the end. So yeah, how's that driveway looking now, Mufid?
Looking perfect.
Fantastic. Okay, so now I've got these guys together, especially Mufid, he's a big guy, strong, and we're going to now carry these 9.515 metre sheets and place them on the trims, which Marion and I put on yesterday. So there's a few things to explain. We are actually going to start on the other side first, on the 6 metre side, because the 6 metres are here on top. Okay, so there is a right and wrong way to put up these Colorbond sheeting. What you've got is a lip coming down on the corrugation and a lip going up. So this here is actually the top. So now this is the bottom. Now because we're going to start on the other side, we actually have to walk this around the other way. So because at the moment we're back to front. Just go back a bit, Eugene, and let Mufid put it inside the channel and come across. That's it, beautiful. When the wind blows and it's raining, I'm gonna try to prevent the rain or the water getting inside. Now I won't do the other side where the door is, because that is the finished product. That's how it's gonna look like, and I don't wanna make it look a bit ugly. Now on this side here, we're going to be using the flashing later and it'll cover the end so you won't see this. Okay, so when we put the next sheet on, the next sheet is going to cover over down to here and this is going to hit the lip. So we're going to have to cut that lip off. When you've got wall sheeting, it's recommended by Stramit that you put a screw in every second corrugation or valley. Now in the walls, you do the valleys. On the roof, you do the top section of the corrugation. And also I'm going to do them about 900 centers. You can actually get away with a lot more than that on walls. When you're putting Colorbond on, it's really good to put foil and blanket. So we're going to be using Anticon. This is earth wool and it's rated at 1.3 R rating, which is not a high rating, but with Colorbond, it's only a thin piece of metal. It's 0.42 base metal thickness and it deflects a lot of heat before it even enters the room. So Colorbond is actually a really efficient product for energy. Okay, so one thing to note about the Anticon, it is actually rated for a bow up to bow 40, so it can do 12.5 to 40. And as I said before, this is a bow 29 rated area. So if you don't know much about the bow rating, it's bushfire attack level. Okay, so that'll hold it in place there. I'll put one here. How's that height? Okay, so now I'm just going to cut this off just with a Stanley knife, a sharp knife. So Mufid, how much do you need to come to you?
10 mil.
All right, so yeah, just push it all in. That's it. So now I'm going to be drilling into the timbers. These are going to be 900 centers, as I said before. And so these screws I'm using are Bremix. They're a really good brand. So they are made to cut through the steel and then go into timber. So it's 100 mil. Okay. All right, Eugene, just hold that in for me. Okay, so one thing is when you're drilling, you don't over drill because you can actually crush the Colorbond. I'm going to use a level to find my timbers. This is amazing. These screws are going in beautifully. I've never seen screws go in so well. Okay guys, what do you think?
Beautiful.
Mate, looks good, eh?
Yeah.
This is going to look fantastic. And so the color I chose is actually the same as my shed. Now the reason I chose this color, first of all, because I like it. Second of all, we are in a heritage listed property. So the original owners that own this property, their son made a heap of garden walls and a dam, and it's now heritage listed locally. And so council, when we build the shed, said I can choose only between 3 colors, and I chose the woodland gray. Okay, so we've put the insulation on the next level. Now this is the area, or this section that I was talking about before. You need to cut that off. Okay, just like that, and I'm going to do this end as well. There we go. So one thing I've got to note, when you are on a step ladder, most accidents happen on short step ladders, so be careful on them, and also don't stand on the top here. Beautiful. Okay, so we've put 3 sheets on the other side. We still need to cut another sheet up the top, but we're not going to do that today. And we've also cut around the bracket. It turned out amazing. We've now put the insulation on this side, and we're ready to go. So we're going to do the 9.5 meter. We've bent the ends in already. All right, let's lift it up. Just let it sit on the trim. All right, let me just mark that. Good job, Mulford. Okay, this sheet is done, looks fantastic. Eugene had to go urgently yesterday to pick up his kids, but Mulford stayed a little longer with me, and we ended up putting another row of the Anycon insulation. And we also put 1 sheet on here, and we put the 3 small sheets on the side. They're done. Fantastic. Mulford, thanks for staying back.
No problem.
It's sitting flush on this side. How's it looking on your side, Mulford?
Yeah, it's all good on my side.
Okay, last one on this side. Okay, so now we're going to cut the sheeting for the south wall. This is not straightforward. Cutting sheets to the most part is a little tricky, but when you're doing a long cut like this, especially over a corrugated on the taper, can be a nightmare. So the way to cut it is by using tin snips, nibblers. Now years ago I went and bought a nibbler, and I didn't like how it worked. But I don't have any choice today because I don't want to use tin snips because they're really hard on your hands. So what I'm going to do first is measure out the ends. I've just taken the measure. Now, when you do take a measure, the overlap between the sheeting is roughly between 80 to 83 mil. That's a rough figure. So whatever the height is, you usually add the 80 mil to it. And that's what I've done here. I've actually done less rather than more. So now the best way to mark this out, instead of getting a long straight edge, which is almost impossible to do sometimes, I found the best way to do is using a chalk string line. So Muffin, I'm going to ask if you can hold that. Okay, so with a string line, all you've got to do is lift it up in the air and hit it. And so that's made a mark for us. Wow, that turned out incredible. I mustn't have used it right the first time. After 12 years, I got my money's worth of this machine. Fantastic. Nice. There's no lipping. This is really good. It's sitting nice and tight. Okay, this side is done. Okay, so when I'm cutting around any objects, like a window, I use the edge of the window and just put the Stanley knife against it, and that way it gives me a really clean cut. So I just locate it and then just cut. Now be careful on the bottom sill because there is actually a little rubber there for the protect it from water. So just don't push too far in, you will cut it. So this is a 2 meter window, and it's 600 high, and I've put it up pretty high to give the privacy inside. So if you haven't watched days 1, 2, 3 or 4, it explains a bit more about it. So once again, I've got that in the descriptions below. All right. Okay, so one thing I haven't mentioned, that this actual insulation is made by Knuff. So we managed to get the 3rd sheet on, bit of a struggle to get it underneath the window. I allowed it to go into the side of the windows by 5-6 mil roughly. And so it looks really, really nice. It's a nice finish. And also we use the nibbler to cut the base, and then we use the whiz snips to actually clean it up. So the nibbler does not do a clean cut. Ready? Mine has come down. Yep. Ah, yay! Okay. You did it, Eugene! Guys, that was a bit harder than I thought, eh?
Not too bad. That was the hardest one.
It's only because it's so high. and it's really not good working off ladders. So the proper way of doing it probably is having scaffolding. I was anticipating it, but it didn't come to fruition. I'm going to put the last sheet up. Mr. Suka arrived. He's going to give us a hand. Eugene had to take off, and so Muffin and I agreed we just finished this last sheet. And so we've cut around the bracket to let it fit in. Now above the door, we are going to have a little bit of an issue. We're going to have a gap about this much where there's no Colorbond, but I'll address that later. Okay, so the bracket's here. We're going to go through the bracket with the slither. All right, so that's coming through now. Let it come down. That is just excellent, guys. We've gone, and I didn't say this earlier, but what we've done here, the corrugated actually comes up to here, but we didn't want a massive gap above the door because it was going to be probably about 120 mil. So instead, we've got like about a 40 mil gap. So we've chosen to come down one extra corrugation. Okay, guys, we did it. Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Suka.
You're welcome, Musa. It's looking great, Musa.
Looking fantastic. Muffit. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, we're back and Eugene's back again. Thank you, Eugene. We went through on the other side and finished off all the screws. We also fixed above the door. What we ended up doing is putting a little offcut underneath. So there's that 40 mil join that shows, but it's actually not too bad, eh?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So now we're going to start on the north wall, and this is quite easy. A couple of things to note though. So I got these sheets a little bit longer than the other side because of this door. So now what I'm going to do is cut the sheets only on that end for the first two sheets. Reason being, this is always going to be exposed this side, so someone can cut themselves if I use the cut side. And as I said earlier, you can cut yourself quite easily with Colorbond, so I'm going to try to minimize that. One thing I didn't mention, it's highly recommended not to use a grinder with a cutting wheel to cut Colorbond. And one last thing I've got to say, which I did forget earlier, is every night when you finish or afternoon, you've got to go through with your blower and blow off all the shavings from the screws, because the screws cause a little bit of metal to flake onto the ground. Okay, so now I've already cut one sheet. I'm going to cut one more. Okay, that was quick and easy. Okay, so one thing to note when you are putting Colorbond on, the sheets can what they call fan, or they can taper, because you can actually push one side higher than the other. Okay, so these two sheets are now done. So now once again, the overlap of the corrugation is 80 mil. So you just measure down from where the cut's going to be, down 80. So I put the level there and I found my mark. And so what I do then is put the measuring tape up against where I need it, which is up here. Let me just see there, okay? And then I measure down to that 80 mil mark. Now here, it comes out exactly the same as the other window at 250. That's actually really good. Exactly, 1 meter 100. I'm gonna make it 1 meter 105, so it goes in a little bit. We'll just have to crawl it up like we did last time. So now I'll just cut around a fine cut. Great, done. Let me just go up. That's it now. Eugene, we've got to get this rubber out. That's it, you're doing really well. You've got really fine gloves there. Okay, Eugene, we've done it. I can do the rest on my own. I know you've got to go. Man, thank you very much for all your help, yours and Muffid's. Mate, this has turned out fantastic. I love it.
You're welcome. Look forward to finishing it.
These windows, these Bradnam windows are really good. They do have a channel inside here, so the water will not go inside. But the only problem is that there wasn't enough room for the water to escape. So what I did, I went through with a drill and drilled into the corners and allowed more water to escape faster. Okay, this side is done, fantastic. So the gutter I'm going to be using is a half round gutter. It's called a flat back and it's made by Steel Roofing Supply Centre. And I personally like to use them. This has an overflow as well. So when the water is too high, when it's taking in too much water, it will run out through the front. But now this does not have eaves. This is going to be fixed directly into the Colorbond or onto the Colorbond. Okay, so they've made this a little bit longer than what I expected, which is good. So this is 9 meters. 555, so I'll just mark that there. There is a plastic film on this, so it looks scratched, but in actual fact, it's a plastic film that's protecting it. We'll leave that on until we're ready to actually put the gutter up. All right, Marion, what I get you to do, just put your hand here and put pressure downwards. Not too much, because I don't want to distort it. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually put on stop end plates. So just put some clear silicone on this. Now this is roof and gutter silicone made by Sika. So I'll just put it on the inside only, and I can put some on later on the outside. All right, so I'll just put that in place, just like that. Sit it to the outer edge. And so what I'm doing is matching this flat back section of the corner to the flat back curve of the gutter. I'll just put one pop rivet in first. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to do it on the other end of the corner. So I'll put two more in here. So I'll just put it now in between the curve. Okay, so now the curved section of the stop end sits inside the bead beautifully. That's really well formed actually. So now I'll put the last rivet just up the top here where there's a little bit of a lip still. Okay, and so that's it. Okay, so I've just put the stop end on this one. So now I'm just going to get Marion to help me roll that over like that. Now, this is the nozzle. It's the outlet that's going to let the water through. So I'm going to put the outlet on the right-hand side because on the left is the stairs. And I'm going to come in roughly about 100 mil from the edge. You don't need to go too close, but at the same time, there's a heap of screws on the side. So you don't want the downpipe to be too close to where the roof sheet screws are. So I'm just going to bring it across roughly about 100 mil. And so one thing to note with the nozzle, especially with the flat back from steel roofing, they've got one section that's been cut off or flat and the other section's round. So that flat section sits to the back of the flat section of the gutter. All right, so now I'll just put that in place, just roughly about there. And with a pencil, I'll just mark inside. And now what I'm going to do is do a series of 3mm 1/8 drill bit holes. Okay, so now I'll just use the red tin snips. I'll get in there. It's a little hard to start this off, but once you start, it goes around beautifully. There we go. Come back to the beginning and we're done. Beautiful. All right, so now I'll just put silicone around the edge, just like I did for the stop ends. Okay, so this already has holes already pre-drilled into the nozzle. So all you got to do is just line it up, sit it where it feels comfortable, where it's going around the curves, and then just drill in. That's it. Beautiful. This is actually quite easy. Very impressed with this system, actually. Okay, so that's done. So now I've just spread the silicone around, so taking all the sharp edges out, so no one hurts themselves in the future if they're doing any maintenance to this. Okay, the last bracket is in. So what I've done is actually put a string line from a high point on the other side, which is actually the same level as the sheeting, so the timber, and then I dropped it down this side 30mm, just over an inch, so we can have a fall down into the downpipe. And so I've put these around about 800mm apart, not exactly, and there's around about 12 up here, so that should be plenty to carry the weight. So putting brackets on corrugated iron is a little difficult. So basically what I've done is put two screws on the bottom, one up the top and going around the corrugation. And then we're going to use this little section here of the bracket to stiffen it, to hold it in place. All right, so now all I've got to do is just take the string line off and we're ready to put the gutter on. Now, one thing to be really careful of when you're carrying gutter is that it can buckle quite easily. So you usually need two people. It's very hard to put gutter on just with one person unless you're skilled at it. So now what we're doing here is carrying the front section where it's rolled. It has a lot of rigidity here. Okay. Be very, very careful, please. So now, Marion, we're going to bring this to the edge. It's about roughly there. Now bring this to the front. All right, that's in, Marion. Can you just curve that around, please? Okay, if you can hold like that, Marion, I've just got to make sure that it's level on the end. I'm going to curl this over. That's it. Beautiful. Okay, so this last side, just check if the gutter is even. Wow, Marion, you're actually pretty good. That's like within 1mm. It's all done. This looks fantastic. What do you think, Marion? Good. So now this is the leaf gutter guard I'm going to be using, and it has very small slots in the back. It is roll formed, and I find this works best for me. That's what I've got on my house, and it works really well. Okay, so I've set myself up ready to do the roof. I'll be doing this predominantly on my own. So now on the roofing, you actually screw to the highest point of the corrugation, not the lowest point. On the ends, we'll have barge cappings. So I actually will start on the base, just to hold it in place. Just start on the base because the water won't get to that point. But from that point on, I'm going to keep them all on the ridges, on the high point of the corrugation. Now, you always start your corrugation with the curve going down this way. So it's going to be here this way. And so it finishes with the corrugation going up. Now, the reason being, when you put the next sheet on, the next sheet will have the corrugation going down and it'll sit over 1.5 laps, and that'll make it watertight. And so the combination of screws is 3 per sheet per batten. So what you do is you start off on the edge, you have 1. Now in this case I'm going to put it in the valley so I can put a capping on top, the screw won't be in the way. And then it goes 3 corrugations in, and then you put a screw. Then you go 4 corrugations, you put a screw. So it goes 3, 4, 3. And so the screws are closer together where the joins are, where there needs more strength. Now saying that, on the gutter end, the screws are actually every second corrugation, just like the walls. And just to confirm, the batten spacings here are 900 centers from either end, and in the middle is 1200. And that's going to be a nice comfortable distance for this sheet so they don't buckle when you walk on them. And so I've got the insulation down already. I've got the quick grips just holding the insulation in place, and I'll sit this in place. Okay, so now one thing to note, on this end, I have turned all the valleys up just like I did for the walls. Okay, so that overlap is perfect. It's sitting just off the leaf gutter guard, so there's plenty of room there. So as we go further along, the roof sheets will get closer to the leaf gutter guard. So we're going over around about 65 mil at the moment. Okay, so now I've got a 25 mil screw. I'll put it through the valley, as I said. When you are walking on the roof, you still got to walk on the battens. It's not good to walk in the middle because you will crease the sheets, and you've got to be careful not to do that. If you do crease the sheets where the joins are, water can come in, so be careful. There we go. And it's in. Beautiful. Second sheet. I'll just pull that up higher. Okay, that's marked off. I'll just screw that in. Okay, and when you're screwing in, you make sure it doesn't collapse the corrugation. Okay, this is going beautifully. This is really straight. It's making my job a lot easier, but you do have to be careful. As I said, when we're doing the walls, it can fan out. It can actually taper. So you've got to be careful for that not to happen. You want these to continually go straight. So I'm going to keep measuring off the edge to make sure I've still got the same distance as I started, and that's a good indicator. Okay, I'm back. I managed to get 6 sheets on yesterday, which is fantastic. They're so easy to put on. And if you've never done this kind of work before, I'll put a link in for Steel Roofing Supply Centre and you can get someone to do it from there. So now, one other thing I didn't mention, when you are walking on Colorbond, you can't walk too late in the evening, and you've got to be careful in the mornings because the dew on the sheets will cause you to slip. Now, this is only a 5-degree roof, which is the minimum you can go to with corrugated. So this is a 1 in 12 fall. And so you've really got to get off the roof once it starts becoming a little moist. And the shoes you should be wearing are rubber shoes. Okay, finally we're up to the last sheet. This is amazing. This went real quick. I'm very happy about this. And so what I've done, once again, measured down from the edge back in about 80 mil, both sides, and then checked the final length from that 80 mil back. And it came up to 395 mil. And then I went through and cut it with the nibbler, which is such an easy tool to use, but it does make a bit of a mess, and you need to sweep it off because it actually gets caught under your feet, all those little cuttings. Okay, the roof is now complete. Woohoo! This is fantastic. Okay, so now I'm ready to put the capping on the side. But first I went up and screwed off all the screws on the gutter end, so every second corrugation, as I said before. But also to note that I went through with the blower and blew off all the shavings. Again, you need to take all the shavings off because they will rust and it's not going to be good. So then after taking all the measurements of the side cappings and also the barge cappings, I went into Steel Roofing Supply Centre in Penrith, and thanks to Jade, got them made pretty quickly. Now I have put them on the other end already just to try how it's going to look like. What I've done is a fold and crush. Some people call it crush and fold. So why I've done it that way? Because when they're sitting on the edge here, I don't want anyone to cut their fingers. So when you fold and then crush it, it makes it a very nice round edge and no one's going to cut themselves. I also put the capping on this side. So around the door was very tricky. I had a very small piece to cut and it proved to be very difficult because as you cut it, it distorts the corrugation. So I took a bit of time. It's turned out okay. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. plastic's off. So now what I'm going to do is sit this right in between the gutter, just like that. Wow, that sits beautifully right on the corner. That is nice. So I'm going to use prop rivets only, not screws, because I found the screws, when they stick out, they do hurt if you hit them. Beautiful. Okay, so what you've got to do is just to make sure that it's going up straight. Okay, so it's sitting nice in the gutter, but I've got to make sure that the rest of it is actually sitting nice as well, so there's no bowing in the actual angle. But that is actually sitting really good. There's hardly any adjustment needs to be made. So the adjustment will basically just be the screws going in or going out, just to take out some of the high and low points. Okay, I'll just put one here. Okay, done, and that looks amazing. Okay, so this barge cap is a little different to the side. So I'm coming down the wall 110 mil, and then there's a 20 mil feather. Now the feather itself is to give the stiffening edge to go over the corrugation. All right, so what I've got to do now is put this up and get a mark. Okay, so I'll just go from one end to the other. Now this is hitting the top section of the corrugation. So I'm going to push this in a little. Okay, to about there, where this top corner meets the actual side capping. So, all right, so what I've got to basically do is just trim that section off. So I'll just line that up. Okay, so all I've got to do for this one is put a level on there, just trim up to this point. This is where the flat back starts on the gutter. What I'm going to do here, just to make it a little bit decorative, I'm actually going to just taper this cut to the gutter. So in other words, where I've just gone up, I'll just cut that at that point there. Now, just on the top here, we've got the sheets turned up, and these are going to interfere. Now, the next capping that comes on is going to come from here up to this point. So if I cut this corner off, it's not going to be a big deal. I'll just take that out so it's not in my way. Okay, now I'm going to use some screws to put this in, but first, because the other side's not in properly, I'm on my own, obviously, I'm going to put a prop rivet here just to hold it in place, and then I'll go back and secure the other side. Okay, now I'll put this one in, and as you can see, this little turn down just goes into the corrugation and just finishes it off. Just put that on the ridge and go through the timber. Beautiful. Okay, back to this end. I'll put a screw into this side. The last capping is going on. All right, so I've put the capping on the other half of this west wall, and I've also put the capping on the south wall, so the side capping. I minded that corner, put some silicone, pop riveted and screwed it down. It's all done. Okay, so now I'll just mark it out to the very corner and to the junction point of the two cappings, which is just there. Okay, so I've got some silicone on there. Let's put that down. And so what I'm going to do first is put a rivet in this side. Just put a bead of silicone in here, just 2 rows going down. So the reason I go down, just like when you do mirrors in the bathrooms, if there's any condensation, any water, it will run down. There we go. Okay, this side is now secure. I'm going to put another 2 more rivets on the top and finish that off. So now I'm going to put a roofing screw through the capping. It's a lot stronger than a prop rivet, and it's going to go through into the batten. All right, I'll just put a prop rivet here as well. Okay, the last rivet, last screw. This capping is complete. I can get off the ladder. How painful was that? We're just about to put the last 2 sheets on the door. It's going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, so these are the sheets that we cut off this wall, and this is the side that hasn't been cut with a tin snip, so it's going to be safer. All right, so now I'll just put this across. Mary, I'm going to close the door on you. I've got to go down 1. So basically, push it against me. So I'm also going to make sure that I marry these corrugated lines up. Okay, so now I'm going to put one on this side. Okay, so I've just identified that I need to screw in roughly about 60 mil in from the edge. Okay, so we'll just slowly crawl our way up, just make sure that every corrugation is actually working. Okay, I'll just put the next piece of insulation in. Just sit it there. Ah, beautiful. So the reason I've allowed the sheet to go over to make that waterproof here. The bottom actually goes past the steel frame, so that'll waterproof it there. I do still need to put another little piece of corrugated down here. So it's 765. Okay, so this section is the opening of the door, and this section here that I've just mitered through, just gone around, is actually the section that goes past the corrugation. Okay, let's have a look and see how it closes. Oh, that's fantastic, just misses. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone sealant on there, and that'll seal that off, so the water will run off over the actual door. That's looking fantastic. And just in time, Anthony will be here in a few minutes. Hey Anthony, what do you think?
Oh, very good, Musa. Great work.
Thank you. You're doing all your own roll for me now, yeah?
Yes, we do, yeah.
Yeah, wow, I can't believe I went to your Silverwater branch and I couldn't believe how many machines you've got. And I get to see some of my old friends there. So I used to work at Steel Roofing Supply Centre back in 91 to 94. In actual fact, Anthony was only at school at the time, and his brother Nick employed me. After a while, Anthony was working for Proof Metal Roofing, which is the main fixing company for Steel Roofing Supply Centre. They sort of work hand in hand. And then I said to Anthony one day, I had another direction in my life, and I said, Anthony, I'm going to have to teach you how to do what I do in steel roofing, which is managing. And so Anthony decided to do it and took it to a new level. But Anthony, how's it all going now?
Very good. So we've no longer where we originally started in Meadowbank.
Meadowbank,
we were
yep.
there for 50 years or something.
Yeah.
Moved to Silverwater, plus we opened various locations around Sydney.
So what do you got? Your botany?
We've got Botany, Penrith, Narellan, and then we're soon to open one 1st of May in Tugra and Gregory Hills.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And so are they also a manufacturing or
manufacturing? So those are mainly flashing shops and all that sort of thing. Our main branch, Narellan, is where we roll form all the corrie, the gutters and all that sort of thing, using Colorbond steel.
Mate, I was impressed with Silverwater. I mean, I know it's not your main manufacturing, but you do specialty there,
we
rainbow
do
heads and all
specialty work there, all our welding, all our architectural products,
wow.
So like wall cladding and commercial half-round gutter. I mean, the one we got here is more of a domestic one. That's
so it's a flat back.
Yeah.
I've used flat back on 3 of my houses, and I just love flat back. But Anthony, I've got to tell you, I actually enjoyed putting yours up.
Yeah.
It was a very different system in the bracketing, and it worked really well for me. I found it really easy. And Anthony, your flashing machines, I don't know what machine you're using, but man, your flashings have turned out spot on. Like the angle, back in the old days, you'd have 90 degree on one end and 80 or 70 or something on the other end.
So we only use SWI machines, Australian made.
Yep.
We get the backup service and all that, all computerised now.
And what length can you get them to?
Up to 8 metres.
Wow, that's fantastic. Very impressive. So Anthony, I really appreciate all your help. So if you're interested, I will put a link below in descriptions for Steel Roofing Supply Centre and also for Proof Metal Roofing. They're still doing commercial work, yeah?
Yes, we do, yes.
Yep, okay, great. And I'll also put a link in for stage 1, 2, 3 and 4. And so the next stage now is to do the inside. So we're finally out of the rain, woohoo! So now we're finally going to put some flooring down. That's going to make it a lot easier for my legs so I won't trip. We're also going to do the timber work. We're going to get the plumber back, so we're going to get Charlie to finish off the plumbing. We're also going to put in the sliding cavity doors. So this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments at all, please leave below and I will get back to you. And I ask you, please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video. And there's many more to come. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Eugene, can you pass a Zeba, please?
There's a saber.
Thank you. I like that girth, man. What's your son laughing for?
He's always making fun of my gift.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right, Murphy?
He touches it all the time.
Is that... Okay, Marion, you're still with me? You're a sad case.